All right. What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? So we're going to be doing a live interview with Tyler Barnes here in just a second. And right now I'm waiting for we're waiting on Tyler Barnes. He is currently live right now, and he's going to invite me to co-host the live with him. So y'all stay tuned for that. This is going to be our first live interview, and yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited. Right now, that's all we're waiting on right now, you guys. I'm super excited, like I said, about this. We're going to be doing it with state record holder Tyler Barnes, who is the current North Carolina state record holder for Flathead catfish. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. And Cole, you're the GOAT. Appreciate you, buddy. That's all we're waiting on right now. Let me see. Let me see if I can invite him. Maybe that. We got it.
There it is.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and do this first. Let me go ahead and share this
Yeah, man.
video. Let them all know.
Yeah, man. If y'all can take the chance or in just a moment to share the live out here, I'm going to share it out to the Facebook right quick, so I'll be right back, okay? Okay. I'm good. Jeremy Cottonham, there's my rods. That's it, dog. Jeremy funny, man. He might not look like he's funny.
Y'all are y'all are the dynamic duo.
Shoot, David is the dynamic duo. I'm just hanging out.
Y'all are all my heroes. I'm trying to be like y'all.
Man, Bobby, man, shoot.
Come on now.
We all know you won't talk, dog. Quit playing.
No, sir. You got that state record holder title next to your name.
Man, that don't mean a whole lot, man. That
Come
just
on
means we
now.
got like one chance. Out of all these hours on the water, we finally had a good trip.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, any trip is a good trip. Maybe not when you tear the bottom of your boat up and have to fix that, but that ain't the point.
Man, I ain't lying. I'm so tired of doing that, man. But hey, sometimes that's what it takes to get to where you need to be.
Awesome. Well, I'm speaking of the state record. I know you've probably gone over this story 100 times, and obviously the Fish and Fuel podcast really highlighted a lot of things. But just kind of walk me through walk me through that day, that night. What was there anything different? Like, was the vibe different? Your mentality different? Like, or was it just another night and another fish that just happened to be the state record?
Yeah, man. So I tell you, I went the night before that. Okay, so I'm a huge believer in when it comes to flathead fishing. Well, really, I think catfishing in general is a big deal, but especially for flatheads, when the water in the river's really low, an optimum time to go is on a new moon. Okay, so if you remember, the night prior, we're fishing a tournament that's called is held by Easy Bait and Tackle in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So the night prior, me and a buddy, Seth Thompson, went fishing. We caught a 51-pound catfish, a flathead, which already, I think that put us in first or second at the time. So what we did is when the sun come up, we caught our bait right there on the river again, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going again. I said, it's the new moon, 100% new moon. I said, man, this is the time to be out there on the water, you know. I said, I got high confidence. This right here is the time to get them. So, you know, tried to get a couple buddies to go. Nobody was able to go, and I understand that. So I took off right by myself. So I took off by myself, put in on the Noose River, set up at my first hole, and you know, said my prayer like I always do when I get out here on the water. And you know, sometimes, you know, Bobby, when you're out on the water, sometimes even just right by yourself, it's a good place to just get away and clear your mind. And no matter what you got going on, it's kind of just a good place to be in nature and just fish and hang out and have a good time. So at the time, you know, I kind of had a couple things going on, and you know, and during my prayer, I was just asking God to just show me, you know, just be with me that night, and just push me through, and just be with me, and just let this be just a night to remember. And it definitely was.
Yeah.
So shortly after, in that spot, right after I said my prayer, we were sitting in I was sitting there in about 10, 12 feet of water, and I had a rod go over. You know, I was like, oh man, you know, this is the one, this is him. Well, it actually ended up being like a 10-pound channel catfish. I was like,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, that's it. No, you know the deal. So that was kind of like, um, that was like, well, that's not what we're looking for. So I reeled in, went to another spot. Didn't have any action there, you know. And so I, you know, had a spot in my mind. And, you know, we always have these spots that, well, I've caught a big one here, I've caught a big one there, I've caught a big, you know, that you want to kind of go and hit. So we all have a game plan, right? So while I was going down the river, you know, I said, okay, I'm going to reel up from here. I'm going to go down the river, and I got this other spot. You know, it looks good. I've always done pretty good here. I'm going to see if I can't pick up one. Well, on the way there was a little tree that was laid over in the water, and I, you know, nothing major, just something, just a little tree, just a little old tree, nothing big, nothing crazy, just here's a little tree. So I'm going down the water, and I'm looking at the tree as I go by. I was like, well, I said, man, maybe I should hit that. I said, no, that's crazy. I said, I'm going to keep going. So I kept going. And, you know, about 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, I said, man, I really need to turn around. It's like it was an overwhelming feeling to listen to yourself. So it was like, I've never hit this little tiny tree, nor really paid it any attention in my entire life. And just this overwhelming feeling of turn around and go fish. So I was like, man, okay. So I stopped. And I was like, you know, like, I don't know why, but I have to go hit this tree. So that's what I did, is I turned around and threw it out. Well, went back to the tree, and what I did is, if the tree's laying here, what I did is I floated right past the tree, and I had one really big shell cracker that I had used in a prior spot. So what I did is I drifted past the structure or the cover and throwed on the upriver side of it. So essentially like a current break, okay?
Yeah.
So, and I'm fishing, Bobby. I'm sitting there, called a buddy of mine on the phone, Jacob, and I'm sitting there, and because at the time I always like to sit up here and turn the chair around and look at all the rods from up here instead of sitting in the floor. So I'm sitting up here, and that shell cracker, about 15 minutes in, that the tip of the rod, it said thump, and it was just rocking. And I was telling Jacob, I said, man, I might have something here. Let me call you back. So I get down there, pick the rod up, and he's starting to put, I pick it out of the rod holder, because keep in mind I threw upriver. So
Right.
it ain't like he can really slam it, you know, and the circle hook get him. So as he was running with it a little bit, I did an artificial hook set.
Right.
And when I did that, Bobby, he let me know he was the man, okay? So, dude, he was going. We fought him. I tried to get him in the net. I couldn't. He's peeling, dragging. Man, I'm freaking out. It's just like adrenaline rush like you ain't never seen. I'm sweating bullets. Finally, after an attempt, I tried to get him in the net. Couldn't get him. He kept coming out. So what I had to do is when he came back up to the top after he kept making these long runs and everything, I finally just reached down there and grabbed him. And I reached over the boat and I kind of felt the top of his head and then I felt the bottom lip. And then I grabbed him with my other hand and put him in the boat. Well, long story short, called my buddy. I called Jacob and I said, man, I got him. I got him. He said, well, how big is he? I said, and I said, dude, I said, it's a big fish, man. I said, he's probably 65 pounds. He said, what? I said, man, at least 65. So I weigh him and I pick him up and it's 82.1 in the net. And I said, well, I started laughing. I said, my scales messed up, But then set it down, reset the scales. He was 81.6, and all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of just overwhelming. Holy crap, state record. How much does the net weigh? What's going on? I did the math. I said, I've got the state record right now. I'm pretty sure, but it's right on the border.
Right.
So anyway, long story short, got him to easy bait and tackle. Got everybody up there, probably about 20, 30 people up there. Called the biologist, got on the phone with Caleb Page at Catch the Fever, and my man was there in 2 hours, okay? He, listen, like 2 in the morning, got in this Mustang. He was flying down the highway. He got there, and, that meant the world to me for him to be there and for everybody else that could make it. That morning when the biologist come in, he actually certified the fish. And it just ended up being one of the best days of my life, man. It was definitely a dream come true, to say the least.
Well, that's awesome. And like you said, I mean, I think a lot of anglers will tell you, I mean, sometimes you get that gut feeling and you're just like, I mean, I'd be a fool to not at least put a bait down, put a bait there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But man, that's crazy that you just had that overwhelming feeling and look at the outcome that turned out. Well, I guess, and my next question to you, it kind of follows up on that, is kind of what have you learned through, I guess, since you catching the state record and really fishing? I guess you mentioned fishing a spot that you have overlooked in the past. Has that changed the way that you fish now?
Yeah, it really does. The main thing that it's taught me, and I've practiced it over time since I've caught this. So I caught this fish July 20th, 2020. And after that, and looking back, it mentally at other big fish that I've caught and where I've caught them, man, at the end of the day, these flatheads can be anywhere at any time. But a main thing, there's no secret spot. There's places that consistently hold larger fish.
Right.
That I've, that's been proven, and from me catching fish and studying, and because what I did, Bobby, is I had a notebook, and I still got it, but I quit taking notes for over 3 years. I had a notebook, and every trip that I went out fishing on, I would.
Got him. Let's go. Yeah, he's acrobatic. Look at that.
Action. Hold on there, Bobby.
Let's go.
He smoked it, dude. He did. He drilled it hard.
That's a good one. Live action, you guys. Tyler Barnes and David Campbell coming up. Absolutely, Nick Potter, MRK. I'm going through some of the comments now. Team Drop Off, Just Fish, what's going on, y'all?
Right, that was an ad right there. Yeah. Hellcat rods, get it done.
Let's go.
I'll let you handle that right quick. But Man, that was cool. David's gonna bring that fish up here.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. Sorry about the interruption there.
Listen,
but that was
you never ever apologize for a big fish interruption. That is a blessing for us. That is something that both people on both of our lives get to see that in action. The two legends in action. For anybody that says that, it's a one time they can't catch fish, right then and there's the proof in the pudding right there. We seeing it firsthand.
Well, that was definitely epic, man. So we got a blue catfish probably around how big is he, Dave? 15, 16, yeah. 17.
That's what I'm talking about.
So definitely a good hit, man. Definitely.
Tyler, I've got somebody on here. He commented. He said, "Ask Tyler if he will charter a 4-hour trip for me." Got him $500 waiting.
Well,
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let him answer that off of the live. Give him a follow and shoot him a DM. But look at that beautiful blue right there. That's a quality fish right there. David Campbell. You guys give David Campbell a follow too, you guys. He's another legend out here, releasing that fish as always, repping the Full Reel apparel at the same time. Let's go.
I appreciate that, Bobby. Appreciate that. But as far as the guided trip right now, just being 100% honest. So right now, I don't offer any kind of guided trips or anything like that. That's something I try to stay fair about. But if that's ever something that happens in the future, more than definitely, I'd be glad to take anybody. But right now, it's kind of, that's not my weekly activities.
Right.
Trip, so that's a
Mr. Married Man now. Mr. Married Man now. Let's go.
But going back to it, I kept a journal. Right. And in that journal, Bobby, every trip that I went on, I would always document the day, what ramp I went in, or put in, what way I went, where I caught my fish, how deep, what bait, moon phase, barometric pressure, and everything. How high the water level was, I did everything to try and master the fish in these smaller rivers.
Right.
And, you can take that entire notebook full of knowledge and throw it in the trash, okay?
Yep.
I'm going to tell you this. Every year is different. Every year is different. The main things that drive these fish to move is water level and water temperature. At the end of the day, in these smaller rivers, that's what it's mainly about, man. So it's all about, because you can take that notebook and you can say, well, January 1st, I put in here and I had this bait. But, this year the water level is different. You can even match it to the exact. I've pulled up the notebook and looked and said, man, this is exactly what I did last year. And I'm going to the exact same place. It's the exact same conditions. Catch nothing. You can't, you just, man, it's just something that's so super hard to pattern on these small rivers. But at the end of the day, here's what I can tell you from my experience and anybody in here, and this is 100% my opinion. These fish can be anywhere at any time, but I can tell you, if you're fishing and you're using the correct bait and you're moving consistently and you're not catching fish, it's simply because you're not in the right area. My opinion, I don't think there's such thing as really a slow day. There's days that fish are not as active as others, but I don't believe in me on these rivers. Now, lakes and everything like that and large rivers, I couldn't tell you. But on these smaller bodies of water, the fish are always biting. You've got to find what section of the river, where they're at, what are they held up on, and what kind of bait do they want. Once you've mastered that, you'll have enough confidence to come out here and catch fish every time very consistently. But as far as finding 50-pounders every trip you go, man, I don't know anybody that can do that.
Come on now. Not
But
not not in the smaller rivers anyway.
not it. Yeah, well, not here. That's for sure.
Maybe the James.
But yeah, James River, yeah, that's it. Yeah, things like that, man. But Bobby, it's fishing is definitely something that you've got to study and learn and understand. Why did I catch that fish there? When? What? There's just so many variables, man, that change how these fish behave. But so it's just something that's I'm very addicted to, man. Is trying to figure out why, when, and where, and just and try to dial it in and try to at least be more consistent
Right.
as an overall fisherman.
Well, that's awesome. Well, and you talk a lot about the skinny water and fishing these smaller rivers, and obviously you have that mastered. But what a lot of people don't know is you actually have quite a bit of success at the James, like some of the bigger rivers. I mean, what is your approach when you do venture out and fish some of these bigger waters? Do you have the same approach, or are you taking a different approach to those bodies of water?
So primarily the bodies of water that I fish on a regular basis. Now I've
Right.
been out to the James and I've caught fish, but I'm definitely not your professional to
Right.
get advice out on the James. But
Right.
as far as rivers that I fish would consist of the Neuse River, the Cape Fear River, the PD River, and the Tar River. That is pretty much the rivers that I have fished my whole life.
Right.
I would say the PD is probably newer to me, but here's what I can tell you is when I go fishing and I'm preparing for a tournament, I'm using the same techniques that I brought and I have learned from this river to any other body of water. I know that if there's a tournament on the PD River, we'll just say that PD River in South Carolina, and I put in and I pre-fish all night long and I haven't caught nothing, I fished long enough to know that there is just no active feeding fish in that section of river. Because if really look at it and study these tournaments and the results and see where other people are fishing. I'm not saying go take somebody's spots, but you got to kind of develop, okay, well, we have a tournament here on the Neuse River and there's 30 boats and 25 of us were fishing from here to there and nobody really did nothing. But the top 5 were in that section and they all had 100 plus pounds. They slaughtered them. They caught fish the whole time. That's the key to learn that and people say, man, this cold front come in, man, it shut them down, man, there's no fish biting. But that ain't that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you won't where they were is the deal. So you mean to tell me that just because I caught 0 pounds or 2 fish all day, but old dude over there had 150 pounds and cold fish all day, it was just a cold front in my area? He was where a majority of the fish were and just had them dialed in. And that's the biggest thing, is to not lose confidence when you're out on the water. You just have to put in time and find out where these fish are staged up. Do I need to go 20 miles up river somewhere? Do I need to come down river? What time of the year is the shad migrating up river? Are they stacked? Are they kind of onesie twosies? It's all about the bait, time of year, water level, water temperature. And these fish, over time, they make the same movements. It's the same pattern. They go up, they come down. They come up to spawn, they come down. There's just different.
Yeah. Hang on.
It's just trying to.
Hang on.
It's
Sorry.
just trying to. You good? It's just trying to find out when and where to set up. It's just a never-ending game, dog. Just being real with you.
Absolutely. So you talked about bait, the right bait earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at time of year as it comes to, have you had more success on this bait at this time of year, and vice versa? Do you think that matters, or do you think it's kind of a day by day thing?
No, I 100% see a huge difference. Right now, From about middle of November till about March, middle of March, towards the end of March, it's not necessarily the months, it's the water temperature. But when that water temperature starts creeping below about 65, 66, below 70, I will 100% in our body of water now
Right.
will use nothing but gizzard shad. And I will take pieces of gizzard shad and I'll put it up against anything that I got. And this is what I do every year. During that transition period, because there's a fine line. There is a fine, especially we'll use Cape Fear River, for example. There is a fine line when these fish will drop eel and won't shad. And it sounds weird, but it just is. So what I'll do is if I have a tournament coming up, like we'll just say like May. May is always a hard month for me. May's always about, okay, I know if I'm throwing where the fish are, they're gonna hit it, but what bait at this point? It's like a turnover period. So what I'll do is I'll actually fish the weekend prior, maybe not in tournament spots, but I'll actually fish as hard as I can the week prior, and I'll have 6 rods with eel and 6 rods with shad, for example. And if I fish all day long and I've caught 90% of my fish on shad, I know it's time to drop eel and use all shad. And that every single year that happens. It happens every time. I'll go to the Cape Fear River in December and I can have eel and I can have brim. I can have eel, I can have brim, and I can have shad. You can throw all 3 and I promise you will only catch fish. But I ain't gonna say every one of them. I'm gonna say 90% of the fish you catch will be on gizzard shad only. Yeah, and you can switch, and I've done it so many times. I'll even change up. I'll say, okay, just maybe it's in my head. I'm marking fish. I know these fish are here. I'm gonna throw all eel. Knowing they're slaughtering the gizzard shad, I'm gonna throw all eel. Nothing. Ghost town. I'll reel in after sitting there an hour, take all the baits off, put shad on, catch 3 or 4 sitting there. I mean, as soon as it hits the water. It's a huge difference for me in our bodies of water. Now, other
Right.
places may experience different things, but long story short, for anybody that's watching, pretty much just know this. For me, from November till April, gizzard shad for me 90% of the time, okay, not 98% of the time. Every once in a while if I got some white perch or something, I'll throw it in, but pretty much all the time for me, gizzard shad. All right, that April, middle of April pre-spawn action, I'll start transitioning to brim and eels solely. I might have some gizzard shad in there too, but brim and eel to me outperforms the gizzard shad 10-1 on that transition period. It's just a hard time. Just like the fish we caught today so far has just been on eels. But we could have had a brim out there and he probably would have hit it. But if I would have had a piece of gizzard shad, he may would have hit it, but he more than likely, from my experience, is going to pass that up for this piece of eel. That's my experiences. In the summer, I don't even try to have gizzard shad. That's just me. But people are going to say, Tyler, you're crazy, but I'm just telling you, dog, I've seen it too many times. And I've tried it and done it consistently too many times. But, but there's sometimes, Bobby, I mean, you can't do nothing wrong. We all have trips like that. Everybody's best day ever, but as a general, there is a big difference for me, just for me.
Absolutely. All right, last fishing question before I transition into some questions about the brand. Where do you think the next state record flathead is going to come out of if it does get broken?
I think I know it'll get broken, and I hope it's by me.
Absolutely.
I can tell you this. I can tell you there's a state record right now in this river, obviously, on the noose. There's a state record on the Cape Fear River. You give it about 5 to 7 more years, and the Tar River will consistently break the state record.
Really?
And here's why. The Tar River has a large abundance of flatheads. Okay, very little competition. So you can go to the Tar River and you'll probably end up catching 30 flatheads before you catch one blue. There's the competition ain't there like the noose in the Cape Fear. The noose in the Cape Fear, man, there's so many blues, there's so many channels, there's so many flatheads. On the Tar, you pretty much got a handful of blues, you got a handful of channels, but man, the flatheads are dominant. And looking at the surveys from the marine biologists putting their boats in and shocking and doing the surveys, it is definitely gonna be a catfishing capital of the world. Not a lot of people know about the Tar River, and
Shallow water.
it's shallow, man. It's very shallow water. These flatheads are not afraid to go into shallow water.
Mm.
They'll go into anything, man. It's pretty crazy. Once you experience that too, that the fish go shallow, man, the more you get away from those deep holes, the better off you're gonna be. The better off you're gonna be. 3 foot and under, 4 foot and under, probably.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's my money, dog. Right
That's
there.
my kind of fishing.
That's it. That's
Good
it.
deal. Good deal. So I want to transition a little bit and let's talk about your brand, For Real Fishing. How did that idea come about, and kind of what drove you to kickstart your own brand?
All right, so I tell you, it all started right here on TikTok. So we started going live and doing some fishing and you know, kind of getting used to it. And our very first live video that we ever did on this account right here went insane. So I'm over here, I'm like, man, people saying, man, you know, we're breaking records. I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't really know about this. But at the end of our first live, Bobby, we had 7.5 million likes. We gained over 8,500 followers. We gained 90 subscribers in our first live ever.
That's insane.
So when I left and I got to looking at everything and finding out all these messages and people, I found out what had happened. I said, man, is this a sign? Does this mean something? I don't know. Well, further down the road, people caught me as I'm fishing and stuff. A lot of times I would say, for real. Like, for real.
Yes, that is something you have always said.
Real. You always said, for real. And then people started saying, for real fishing. You need to make a brand, for real fishing. And I was like, for real fishing? I said, man, that sounds good. You know, it kind of hit me. And I kept on, didn't really pay it no mind. Kept fishing. People kept saying, you need to do it. For real fishing. And I was like, man, maybe I do. Maybe I do. So what we did, Bobby, is kind of put it together, and we launched officially on April 1st. And just from April until now, you can see all over social media, there's a lot of people wearing our gear and in our products.
Love to see it.
I love your hat too, by the way, man. It looks for real, dog.
Oh, you already know.
That looks good. But I tell you, it's really a fishing community grown brand. It's nothing I've done on my own. It's something that we all as a community has built together. Now, For Real Fishing, as of right now, is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Right now, we're selling apparel and accessories, small things. There is definitely a large picture coming. There's definitely big things. What we're doing now is developing a very strong team, getting our brand out here and just getting the brand out. So once we feel comfortable to really step it up, there's going to be a date that For Real Fishing is definitely a brand that hopefully will impact the fishing industry.
Well, I know your impact is there. I mean, just the numbers speak for itself. People love to watch you fish. People love to listen to you, take advice to you, and I think that's I mean, the state record I think definitely helps, but I think your just knowledge and your passion to see everybody succeed. I mean, obviously I've been on your Facebook, we've been friends on Facebook for a while, and been friends in general for a while, and you're always supporting, I mean, everybody from local guys to, Caleb, and, everybody, more prominent figures, and everybody in between. You're always there supporting people. And I think it's awesome that people are reciprocating that to you, and wanting to see you have the same success. And I think that goes a long way. And that's one of the things that, you when you think about some people, I had not many in the fishing industry, but some people, when they start getting successful, they start getting a following, they start, I don't want to say forgetting who they are, but you know, but you have just, you're one of the most humble people that I've met, and had the pleasure of asking. I don't know how many questions that I've asked you throughout the years of knowing you, and you're always willing to answer. You're an open book, and that's, some people, you ask them a question and they kind of distance themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think with you is, you're always wanting to see, like I said, you're wanting to see people have those same success. Even if it's the same body of water, like, hey man, like, you know, it's maybe not exact spots, but here's what I'm doing differently. And that's something that I want to transition to. I know I said no more fishing questions, but what do you think that you do differently than everybody else? Not even like spots aside, but like what do you do differently?
As far as a fishing, like when I'm out here on
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, like whether it's rig size, or whether it's setup, or time spent at a spot.
well, so Bobby, I tell you, over the years, I've watched right here on this body of water, um, really grow. The fish have grown, and the fishing community has grown. These tournaments used to be, oh man, if you get a 10 boat tournament, man, that's a pretty good showing, man. Especially when I was coming around, there might be 15 boat people. I'm like, man, these people are hardcore. This is pretty cool. But I can't really say that I do something, that is noticeably different than everybody else as far as that. That would really be a tough question, because I tell you, Bobby, as the sport's gotten bigger, and you've seen it, there is a tremendous amount of anglers that are really into catfishing, and they are hard,
Yeah.
and they're really good. And there's so many great anglers out here on the water, man, that and everybody experiences things a little bit different um than everybody else. Every time you go fishing, you'll remember this experience on this kind of day. It was here, I caught a fish here. I ain't gonna tell nobody, it's a secret. But on small rivers like this, like I said, one of the things, if there was to be a thing that I do different than other people, um, is I see people sitting in a spot too long. They'll sit in the area and they may be there 3 or 4 hours. It's time to check out, dog. It's time to check out. You need to be moving. You need to be moving. You need to, and you got to feel it out, man. You got to feel that bite. Is it a, man, he's there in 15 minutes and move? Or is it a 45 minutes? Is the water really low and it's really hot and it's pushing 90 degrees? Maybe is it an hour kind of bite? Sit there, after about 45 minutes, he may make a move. Is the water up and it's cool? Is he going to hit it as soon as he hits the water? Sometimes people think that the fish are moving all the time. Okay, and some days they are. Some days they make gigantic runs, and you can sit in a spot, man. You can just wax fish if the water's rising real hard and the river's, man, it's moving, man. Yeah, fish could be moving, but if it's at a stable level and it's or on the low side, a lot of times, especially like daytime fishing, you know, especially in the summer. You know, a lot of times you hit an area, a piece of cover, structure, whether it's a ledge, a dip, you catch a fish or two off of that in 30 minutes, load up and move to the next spot, dog. You got to keep it moving. That's, and I ain't even saying, you know, like I said, catfishing is very opinionated. And a lot of people say that, hey, my way's the best way, your way's the best way. Tyler don't know what he's talking about, and that's okay. But that's what I've noticed is sometimes people sit in a spot too long. Don't sit there for 2 hours. A lot of times, if there's anybody out here watching that's local to Goldsboro or Eastern North Carolina that fishes these rivers, next time you go fishing, pay attention, and I bet you realize that, man, as soon as I set up on that tree, I caught a fish in 10 minutes, but I didn't catch nothing for the next hour. Probably should have moved. There's nothing wrong with sitting on a spot, catching a fish real quick and giving it another 30 minutes. That's okay. But sometimes you're sitting and fishing an area when there's no active fish moving and you're wasting time. I've always been a run and gun. 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe 30. Could be 30. It could be that quick. There's different variables. Because you've got to, when you're out on the water, you've got to hustle, especially if you're in a tournament. You've got to reel in quick, you've got to rebait quick, you've got to move and hustle, because every spot, all the time that you can save throughout the day could mean one more spot, which that one more spot could be the difference in you winning or losing. But you know, that's probably the main difference. I mean, for the most part, people know the baits to use and what kind of things to fish and stuff. I would just recommend, you know, maybe moving a little bit more often.
Awesome. Well, tell us about the gear you use. What are we looking at? What from the rod to the hooks that you like? I know a lot of people say he fishes this heavy structure. You know, what kind of gear are we talking about?
All right, so what I prefer to use is all of these. I have 6 out the back right here. These are heavy action Hellcat rods by Catch the Fever. Okay, and attached to the Hellcat rods, I'm using Pin Fathom 20s, Pin Fathom 2 20 level winds. And on the reels, I have it spooled up, and I may be able to zoom in, Bobby. I don't know. Okay.
Look at that.
All right, so there's our reels. Okay, there's my finger. So these are heavy action green Hellcat rods by Catch the Fever. These are Pin Fathom 20 level winds. On these rods, on these reels, I have 150-pound braided line. And as far as a leader goes, we have our fish finder rigs. Okay. We have fish finder rigs, which just consist of a sinker slider, barrel swivel, about 18 inches of 100-pound heavy cover leader line, okay, down to either a 9/0 Charlie Brown circle hook, or a hook that I'm using more often than ever is the 10/0 Daiichi hooks. So I've had really good success with both hooks. They're very comparable. They both work. I'm a guy that finds what he likes, and he likes to stick with it. If it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke,
If it ain't bro.
don't fix it, dog.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what I use, Bobby, on you know, as a pretty much that's just what we use pretty much any time that I'm out here on the water. And something that I get so often is, man, there's 90 people in here, and somebody's saying, man, this guy's crazy, man. He's using 150-pound braided line for these catfish. And the reasoning is, I'm a tournament fisherman, and it's all about getting the fish in the boat. It's not about overpowering them. Who cares if you got 50-pound braid or 150-pound braid? I can tell you he's not going to break my line. The reel ain't going to perform different. The throwing isn't going to be any different. All I'm gonna tell you is the fish is coming in the boat, dog. That's all I'm telling you. I don't
He's
like
gonna pull the whole tree in first, but it's coming in the boat.
tree and the fish is coming, dog. But I don't like to have, you know, man, that fish broke my line stories, and I had a 50 on, but he broke my line. That don't happen. That don't happen. It's either he won't hook good or I got him. I mean,
Yeah.
he don't break my line. So, but that's pretty much my gear. That's pretty much my gear.
So no demon dragons. You don't like to use it. Do you use any floats or demon dragons or anything like that, or is it straight leader to hook?
Um, Most of the time in the summer months, it is just straight sinker slider, barrel swivel, leader line, hook, and bait. That's it. In the winter, however, I'll do tend to like to put a 3-inch peg float, about 5 or 6 inches from my hook, especially when I'm running gizzard shad or any kind of cut bait in the wintertime. I like to throw that cork on there because it helps elevate the bait off the bottom of the river. And it may not be a lot. You may think, well, I mean, it's only a foot up. But sometimes that foot can make a big difference. It can make a humongous difference, in my opinion. Not all the time, but it can, because blue catfish tend to be elevated off the bottom, where a flathead, he's on the bottom. But a blue, he can be anywhere in this water column. Anywhere. I actually, Bobby, had a fish tank. I still do. And in this fish tank, I have a flathead catfish and I have a blue catfish. Had a blue catfish. He's no longer with us.
Rest in peace.
But they're both about this long. And I watched them every day. I got cover in this fish tank, right? And I'd watch them every day. The flathead is on the bottom. He's under that cover. Every day he's under the cover. That blue catfish, he was suspended in the middle, away from cover, every single time. He didn't care about the cover. He wasn't hiding. He would be suspended. He may be higher today, but the next day he may be 5 inches off the bottom. But he was never on the bottom. He was always suspended. So for me, throwing that cork on definitely doesn't hurt.
Right.
But I think there is some advantages to corks, and there's other rigs that you can get into, like 3-way rigs. Those are phenomenal, especially in deeper rivers too, and places with a lot of current, like the James River. It's a big difference.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Now, you're obviously this North Carolina state record holder for flathead. So a lot of people, when they think about flatheads in North Carolina, they look at you. Now, wintertime, obviously a lot of there it's hard on any body of water that from everybody that I've talked to target flatheads as that water gets cooler. What A two-part question here. When do you see that flathead slowing down? And you know, does it slow down to the point where you don't catch them, or is it just, you know,
Mm-hmm. So
once in a while?
So most of the time, like I said, it really depends on the water temperature.
Right.
But after the middle of November, pretty much between, it just depends on the
Yeah.
temperatures and everything else. But after November, for me, 100% blues is all I'm going for. And I'm not saying you can't catch flatheads in the winter, because you can. Absolutely you can. But if you hit him in the head with a piece of bait, he's going to hit it. But for me, if I catch one in the winter, it's luck. I don't just go out targeting flatheads. But if somebody says, Tyler, go catch me a flathead, it's January, we can probably do it. I'm looking the deepest holes that I can possibly find, the deepest places without the least current. You need small current and deep. And a lot of times, if you hit it just right, you can catch several flatheads out of one spot. One spot. They'll be kind of stacked up. Now, as the spring comes and the shad are starting to run up the rivers and these fish are starting to wake up and everything's getting better, sometimes, man, you can absolutely destroy the flatheads. I had a tournament on Cape Fear River in March, and I knew it was about that time. But I was like, well, it's also a nighttime tournament too. It's cold. I'm going to try some things out. So I started hitting nothing but deep water. 30-pound flathead, 30-pound flathead. I said, okay, I'm actually going for flatheads. So, and I did this TikTok on live with everybody in here. We ended up, on the morning bite, ended up sticking, we caught over, I think, 20 flatheads, and it was freezing. It was cold. We caught 20 flatheads, just a couple blues, like 3 or 4 blues, destroyed the flatheads in this area. And in the morning, we ended up catching one about 50 pounds. And in a March tournament, I had about 112 with 3 flatheads. But that's not what I'm getting at. I'm just getting at there is times when they, just like that, shut off. There's times just like that, they're all awake. And if you can catch it when they're dormant to boom, let's start moving, it can be some of the best fishing that you could ever imagine. And these flatheads are just going, they're hungry, they're trying to get warm, they're moving, they're energetic, and man, you can just sit there and catch flatheads all night long, right in the winter.
Well, that's awesome. And like I said, I mean, these are questions not only, looking on here, but a lot of questions that I've had is, as somebody that is not, I haven't really targeted flatheads very much. Obviously, my 2 biggest flatheads came from the bank in Danville, Virginia, because, the bodies of water that I fish, not that there's not a prevalent population of them, but when I look at, like, say, Kerr Lake or, Bugs Island, if it's home to the 3 largest blue catfish ever caught, am I going to target? I just can't get away from these big blues. But learning more about how to fish the skinny water, because honestly, the Dan River, the Stanton River, the 2 main rivers that run up there, that they do get into some really, really skinny water. So, I've really been pushing myself to learn more about fishing skinny water, and even if it's fishing it down there. But I think there's bits and pieces that you can take to any smaller river and body of water and become successful at it. Would you agree kind of with that? I mean, aside from the rivers you fish, do you think you can incorporate that into, any smaller river that you would fish?
I think so, Bobby. Yeah, I really do. I think that you can take what I do right here and take it anywhere you go. And I'm not the guy. I don't, like I said, I've always fished smaller water bodies of water, and but that's going to change after this year. I've got plans to start branching out and getting away from these smaller bodies of water. I have fished, Bobby, I have fished the Noose River ever since I was a little boy with my dad, and we fished hard. And I have fished and I have spent so much time out on these rivers, man. And I have gone and traveled. And, my goal, I used to be, and I still am, it's just not the same. It doesn't hit the same. I've gone and stressed and have spent so much time and watched so many videos and have fished and put in so many hours to learn these fish and to be consistent. I feel like I'm kind of at a point. I mean, I've been blessed with the state record too. For now, somebody's gonna get it, and that's okay. And I'm be the first one to shake their hand. But I've gotten to the point where these rivers don't owe me nothing. I've done all I can do on these rivers. I have nothing else that I can do to get better. Like, I'm slowing myself down.
Right.
Myself down from here. So my goal after our series is over for this year, I'm probably going to be looking into a different vessel to something more suitable for these larger rivers and start fishing. Go up there with you fellas and start fishing like Kerr Lake and James River. Those 2 are really 2 that I'm primarily planning to focus on. starting this winter. That's my plans on in
Absolutely.
spring. But I think, Bobby, I think, and I could be so wrong, but I think I can take the same knowledge that I have, and that works consistently anywhere I go, and probably do it on the lakes and probably do it on the rivers. Meaning, I ain't about to say I'm about to start go fishing Kerr Lake and start winning, because that is definitely not to happen. That is not about to
I
happen.
hope you do, because I'm gonna be asking you a whole lot more questions.
No, man, listen, listen. I'm just being honest. Whenever I say I think I can do it anywhere else, I think these fish, at the end of the day, man, they're different bodies of water, but they're fish and they act the same and have the same patterns. And I have figured out what it takes to catch them and when and how and where. And I think you can apply the same stuff anywhere. I don't really see it being no different, man. There's different strategies, definitely.
Yeah.
Pulling planer boards, things like that I've got to get used to. But at the end of the day, I think, man, some of the things that I do here will work anywhere. I really do. I really do. It's just about going, learning, and trying and trying and trying. But I've really got to. The hardest thing that's going to happen to me, the hardest thing for me at this point is forcing myself to get away from my comfort zone. Because I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out. I'm gonna be out of it, dog. And this has been my comfort zone for years. I mean, I'm just so used to it. I know what to do. When this comes, it's like automatic. So,
Yeah.
I'm only hurting myself by not moving on and advancing into these bigger, larger, better events. Because this right here, dog, this is great, but mentally, it's beginner stages. It just is. I mean, you can see both banks here. Fish log jams, move every 45 minutes, develop a pattern, boom, you got it.
Yeah.
Um, but lakes and big rivers, that's definitely a challenge. I think.
Well, and you mentioned, Kerr Lake and the James River, and Kerr Lake in particular is somewhere that has been it can be my best friend, and it can be the reason that at the end of the day I'm saying I'm selling all my fishing stuff, and I say that for about 20 minutes until I calm down. But like you said, I think honestly the biggest problem that I would think is, like you said, at Kerr Lake, everybody fishes. Like 90% of the anglers, or I'll even say 95% of the catfish anglers, fish 10% of the lake, because it's the comfort zone. It does produce a lot of big fish, but everybody knows all the holes. Everybody knows all of the structure. Everybody fishes the same holes. And I think that, like you said, I think it obviously, like I said, home to the three largest blue catfish ever caught. But I think when you look at all of those those, those big catfish, one thing that all three of them have in common, the world record, the 143, Nick Anderson, the 141, obviously, Dale Lowe, and then the Tim King's, which was based on measurements, but I won't go into that. I think it was a lot bigger than high 130s, based on the girth of the back end. But they were all fishing in areas away from everybody else, like out of the blue, like when you tell them, like, yeah, we were fishing in this area at this time of year, you're like, it's when people go, why? But like you said, I think when you start thinking outside the box, like, it might be something subtle, like you said, this tree. And I think that mentality of I need to just get out of my comfort zone is going to help you on those bigger bodies of water, because you might see everybody shooting for this spot. And if I don't know a body of water, that might be just to test the waters, get a feel for the body of water. I might think about, let me check and see kind of what everybody's doing. But at the end of the day, these bigger bodies of water are just that. And I think you can incorporate that, into that. Now, I guess a question that I'm transitioning to is, you mentioned pulling boards, and do you have any, what's your experience, with pulling boards? Is it something you're going to jump into, or is it something that is going to be kind of you're going to be kind of greenish at?
I tell you this. I tell you what I think, Bobby, and there's going to be people that's going to agree with me, and there's going to be people that's going to disagree. I think, and I've never done it, Bobby. I'll be real with you. I've never done it. I've never pulled boards. I've never dragged baits. I've only anchor fished. But I think dragging baits and pulling boards can no doubt catch the monsters. But something tells me that anchor fishing on these lakes and stuff like that will outperform, maybe not in numbers, but in quality. I think anchor fishing will outperform long term. Going
Right.
experiment a lot with both, but I'm getting. Hey, once I start pulling and hey, I'm not.
You hit that triple digit right off the bat, pulling
I
board.
would say forget anchor fishing. Who needs that? But I'm a be willing to bet that anchor fishing will do just as good as drifting or dragging
Oh
baits.
yeah.
I think there's when you're dragging and you're catching numbers of fish, man, that's great, dog. But numbers ain't gonna win. Numbers ain't gonna win. You can drag it by, but it's all about finding those areas that the larger fish tend to hang out, especially in lakes. I really think there's I don't it's I'm
There
just
is. There is. I know what you're saying.
I'm constantly a thinker, Bobby, and a lot of you asked me a question earlier. What is something you do different that what I do different is this. I don't do what everybody else does. If I see 50 boats over
Well,
there, that don't mean mentality. It'll get into your head. You're thinking, well, if there's over 90% of the boats over there, well, man, these guys know what they're doing, and they're there, and that's where the winner's going to come. So you think you have to go over most of the time with the tournaments that I win, I never see a boat. Or I may see one, and there may be 50 people but a lot of times I'm by myself. When I went to Bobby, do you remember the Dan River tournament, the Flathead tournament last year?
yep.
All right. Never seen eyes, never did nothing, never have been on ever. First time on Carr Lake.
Yeah.
I used what I do here on the Dan River, and I said, sayonara, son. And I went 20 miles up the Dan River and found some niche spots on the way back. We got third place out of like 50 something boats. Never seen it before in my life. That's why that was another time that I could prove that what I do here is going to work there. It's going to work there. But that's also a river. Fishing the lakes, I'm going to get my tail kicked for a while. But there is patterns and there's way to get them. If the fish are in the lake, you can get them. And I'm going to find out. It might take me some time, but it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, it's a wise man once told me, somebody that has done their damage up there and is currently has the second largest blue catfish ever caught. He said something that a lot of people overlook is how big Kerr Lake is. And if you spend your time learning one area of the lake and you only fish that one area of the lake, he said, what's to say that that pressure gets enough? Those fish are smart. He said they move. He said if you limit yourself to that one body of water, you might win a couple tournaments starting out, when the fish are coming out, especially when they're going up for the spawn, you're going into the rivers. Everybody knows where they want to be when those fish are starting either coming in or coming out of the rivers into the lake. It's a pretty good spot, but if you limit yourself to that, and that's something that like my bank fishing spot, it's one thing that I've learned. um I bank fish. Everybody likes to bank fish in those same areas, and here I am within. I mean, everybody can see it on my lives. Everybody can see I'm within sight of the dam, and everybody's
Yep.
like, "What are you doing down there? That's deep water." And here I am putting 30s and whatever on the bank. But I think it's because you realize, and you're like, it's different. It's different areas that people aren't thinking about, and there's so many of those in these bigger bodies of water as well. And that's one thing that I think is gonna help you is you're not afraid to be like, I don't care if every boat's going down here. If I get my tail whooped over here, that's fine. But then there's gonna come that time where everybody's fishing that same spot, and you're gonna go down there, and you're gonna come in, and you go hear inside that live boat going dong 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 dong, and here's gonna come that 148 coming out, and he's gonna be Mr. State Record Flathead holder and Mr. World Record Blue holder. I'm convinced. I joke about that, but when you look at and that's what I keep going back to is when you look at the most successful anglers, the one thing that they have in common is they don't do what everybody else does. They don't go to the same area. They might float around to some popular areas once in a while, but
Yep.
you guys just think differently. And how long? My question for that is, how long did it take you to get in that mindset, or to really learn that I don't need to fish where everybody's at?
Let me think about that, Bobby, because when I first started, you kind of want to do what everybody else is doing. But when I started learning there's different strategies and different ways to do things is by fishing tournaments consistently. There's no better way to learn than fishing tournaments, because you'll always, like I said, I ain't saying go take somebody's spots, but what I'm saying is when you start fishing tournaments, keep your eyes, there's always people that consistently do good. And some people say, man, that dude is just so lucky. No, man, he knows what he's doing, dog. Not me. It's, and you just got to know this. If the fish are there in that water and you know they're there, you can catch them. Remember, there's no such, this is me. People gonna chew me out at this when I say this at the catfish conference. There's no thing as a slow day.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't think so. I've seen it. I've fished too many tournaments. I've done it. I can't tell you, Bobby, how many times I fished a tournament. This guy, he's only 10 miles, 15, 20 miles down the river. Not a big difference, but he's caught 2 or 3 fish. But I have caught 30 fish and I'm wore out. And I get to the ramp, I don't say nothing. Okay? People that didn't do good, man, that front come in, it's cold, it's this, man, the fish were just shut down. No, dog. No, man, you weren't where they were. You got to realize if you're fishing a tournament with 30 boats, and the top 3 had 110 pounds and everybody else had about 50 pounds, where did they go? You'll just notice fish were biting in that area and why and when to hit it. And there's been trips where I thought I was going to where they were and I get my tail handed to me, but the guys actually 30 miles at this ramp actually wore them out. I misjudged or calculated. It's just about having confidence in your gear, putting time on the water, and realizing if the fish is there, you can catch them. And if you're not catching them, you're not in the right spot and you're not doing it right. Don't think it's a slow day, because you can put them in the boat. You got to be where he's at. And that's me. And, and another thing, Bobby, is on these bodies of water that I fish, don't get caught up on your electronics too much, man. I don't mark fish. I don't mark fish here. I don't even try to. You can in the wintertime, if the water's real up. I don't even worry about marking fish. Just go find where you already on ledges, already on. Just bounce around, find, pattern them out for the day. I don't even listen. The depth finder, half the transducer's missing back there, dog. It don't
Come
even
on,
really.
man.
Ask David.
Come on, man.
But I'm just being real with you. But now out on these lakes in big bodies of water, it is you have to have it. But the people that are here watching this and looking, man, it's 10 feet of water. I ain't gonna mark no fish right there. It's 4 foot over there. Man, it's a foot and a half. Ain't gonna mark no fish. Ain't gonna mark no fish, man. Don't get caught up on, things like that. But like the James and Carr Lake and Gaston and Mississippi River, if you ain't got high dollar nice electronics that can actually read and help you, man, you behind, dog. It's gonna be tough. You're behind. You're behind.
Yeah, you got
But
that right. And that was actually going to be my kind of leading into that is the electronics have come a long way. I mean, you've still got your old local legends that know some of these bodies of water like the back of their hand, and like you said, like they can get on some of these bigger bodies of water the same way, knowing patterns and like just like you've got your spots, you've got your patterns, you've done it enough to where you can go out there, transducer broke, no problem. Let me go to figure some of these areas out. But how you know how is it going to change you know your mentality, I guess, for some of these big bodies of water? you know are you going to be looking more at depth and contour, or are you going to actually actively try and mark fish?
I'm until I get some electronics like that, because I plan to, like I said, get another boat
Right.
with nice top of the line electronics that can really help me see these fish and things like that. I'm not used to that. Okay, people, there's so many people that have a misunderstanding. They see Tyler's got two depth finders. He's got a big 12-inch screen and he's got a 9-inch screen. That man, he sees all the fish. No wonder he's doing good. Dog, I don't even need to turn this thing on. Okay, that thing ain't telling me. I got this depth finder here. The top one is mapping and putting waypoints, and the other one is just for me to see how cold it is, what's the water temp, and how deep it is. I don't care about marking the fish. I'm gonna find the fish. If I ain't catching them, I'm not where they're at. I know this now. I'm gonna use the same. I'm gonna start off using the same concepts on these other bodies of water and doing it consistently, and adapting. You can't just feel like, oh, yep, the first time out there, yeah, I marked the fish, I caught them, it's all electronics. And it's all about anchor fishing or doing this. It's going to take me years to get as confident on lakes and big rivers like it did here. Like, I'm so confident on the Noosa and Cape Fear River, I feel like I can fish it blindfolded. And I'm not just saying that.
You probably could.
I have fished my whole life here,
Yeah.
and I've done some. But venturing out, it's exciting. It's gonna be worthwhile watching tournaments, entering tournaments, knowing I'm gonna start fishing tournaments already knowing I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna do good. I'm probably not even gonna come in the top 20, and that's okay. That's what it's meant to happen. It's getting adjusted to that atmosphere, learning anglers, learning new people, learning, talking to people, communicating, figuring things out, and just noticing the weigh-ins. Okay, everybody consistently had 50 pounds this day. Nobody was here. That tells me I know nobody went 30 miles down here. I know that. I need to check that place out. So I'm going the next day after the tournament. I'm gonna start fishing that. Once I start waxing them, okay, the fish were in this. That's things that I do. I look at tournaments and use tournaments to help you become a better angler. Don't go for it about the money. Don't go for it about the trying to win. You want to win, but you can't win till you know what you're doing. Okay, everybody get lucky. Moth right there, but everybody can get lucky. But until you know what you're doing, It's about being consistent. It's about being
Yeah.
consistent and learning. And you know, it's that's just what it is, man. But Bobby, yeah, I'm definitely going to use electronics, try new tactics, try different things to help me get better. But I've seen too many. I've been fishing too long, and I've seen too many tournaments, and I know about too many bodies of water to know what it should take on a particular day to win. Like
Mhm.
the snow, I don't know. It's just I
You
know.
know.
You just know. It's man. All right. For example, one more example. King of James last year.
Hmm.
I go fish King of James. I get my tail kicked. I mean, I put a hole in the boat. Even when there's no rocks, I put a hole in the boat. The whole
Come
drain.
on, man.
It was a disaster. Tapping out. Long story short, you fish King of James. 90% of people, they're going to do it this year. They're going to do it this year, Bobby. They're going to go to YouTube and they're going to look up all these fishing spots and they're all going to go to them spots, okay? They're all going to sit on the edges. They're all going to be from here to there, stacked behind each other. Those people are not going to win. They're
Mm.
not even going to come close, okay? They're probably not going to say the fishing was bad. But old dude over here, this dude that was around nobody, he caught 150 pounds. You think he
Mhm.
or he knows what he's doing and he knows how to do it
Yeah.
consistently. That's what it takes. Don't do what everybody else is doing because you're not going to win. You're not going to win. You got to be,
Exactly.
you got to
Exactly.
put your own
And
time in.
that leads me that leads me, I guess, to one of my last questions here is how important is, I'm going to say, the social aspect, but talking with people, especially the people that you say, like, exactly, you consistently see them doing well. They're always in the top 5, top 3, even top 10 in some of the bigger tournaments. How important is that communication with them and talking with them, picking their brain a little bit, not even about, like I said, spots, but just like we're doing now, like, hey, you know, what were you kind of doing differently than me? What worked for you?
Yep.
How important is that in becoming a better angler?
It is very important, but you have to be very careful.
Right. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to tell you the truth.
Right. Yeah.
Most people that consistently win are not going to steer you in the right direction.
Right.
Okay, they're going to throw you off. Learn it for yourself. Talk to
Right.
people. Ask for help. Ask for advice. Chit chat. Talk. But do not solely try to gain knowledge from somebody
Right.
else. You're going to be so far behind, you never know what happened. You're saying, man, I listen to every dude I've ever talked to, still ain't caught nothing. What's happened? You'll be so confused because I promise you, the guys that you ask for help going to look you straight in the face, tell you what to do, and he's lying to you.
And it's a lie.
He's lying.
Exactly.
He's lying to you.
I,
Uh,
I agree. I agree. And that's why, like, when it comes to like spots, like, obviously nobody's gonna give you their their tournament winning spots. And I think, and rightfully so. Um, but I like when I see a boat pull up, like, things that I like to look at, and that I notice is, like, if I notice that they're coming in, and I see shorter leaders, or I see them, majority of their rods have got, say, demon dragons on it, or something along those lines, and I think, at least for me, that's something that I can say, just make a mental note, like, hey, maybe these fish aren't, as close to the bottom, like you said, as I thought. Especially, like, I'm just getting used to the demon dragon thing, and I've used floats for like a year now, but I've always been, like you said, straight Carolina rig, the straight, you know, I'm a basic person here. I'm just throwing out there, and done well. But I think, like you said, when you start learning about water comes, and you start really just lurking in on details, whether it's talking with them and getting those details, or just noticing it kind of for yourself. At least for me, it can just be kind of mental notes to say, you know what, there's these different strategies. Maybe I'll throw 1 or 2 rods with a shorter leader or a longer leader and see what happens. Um, but I always like to at least get some bits and pieces of kind of what's been working. I know you never ask about spots. I think that's pretty straight across the board. You never say, "Hey, where'd you catch those fish?" Because A, they're going to get pissed off at you,
Yeah.
and B, they're going to lie to you. But
Wow.
I think that you can learn something from everybody, and that's one thing that I love, that I'm really looking in it, to get out of these interviews, is letting them, people ask questions on here, but also just like, you can, one thing that I've really learned, and I credit anybody who's ever let me jump on their boat, anybody who's ever given me tips and whatnot, because I feel like on any given day I can learn something from anybody, from all of these awesome anglers out there, and really become a very successful angler. Um, and that kind of leads me to this. You've spent a lot of time on the water, but who drove you? Who lit that fire in that fishing passion fire for you?
I tell you like it is, and I ain't gonna go too far into detail with it,
Right.
but long story short, I first started getting into catfishing. I remember day one, me and my brother-in-law fished a tournament. First tournament ever. We're nervous, man. We ain't got a chance. We get second place. Okay. And that was like, man, that was the greatest thing ever. All right. Well, the next tournament, we fish. We straight up come to weigh in, and I think we would have won, or if not, got second. The people running the series said, you are not going to start coming here and doing this. We don't know about you. You need to pack your stuff up and you need to go
I
home.
remember that.
To come fish here anymore. I said, okay. I said, okay, I won't. But I will beat you anywhere you go. And I have always had that mentality. What does it take for me to win now? And I'm not, and I have really calmed down over the years. I will do anything. I will learn. I will sacrifice anything for me to catch that catfish, to make sure I do good consistently. Because I told them, I didn't say it to them. I said, but you're going to know who I am. I said, you're going to know who I am. And I kept that mindset, and I started fishing and going, meeting new people, new tournaments start coming, going. And I'm not bragging when I say this. This is my fifth.
Brag, come on.
I'm not a bragger. I'm just being
I
honest.
know it.
This is my 5th year that I'm going to win the Noose and Cape Fear River Wars tournament series in a row. Now that, to me, I've done all. That goes back to I've done all I can do. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
talked to state record. That was a gift. That was just a gift. But I've won all I could. I'm done. I'm done. I deal with it. Took me 10 years. 10 years from that, getting banned from that one tournament for winning. And Bobby, I've been called everything under the moon, man. I've been called, man, this dude's setting cages in the river. This dude, man, this guy's
No.
fish. I get it all the time. There's even tournament trails that are going on that I'm not invited to fish here on my body of water. It's like invitational on. So, but that's okay, because now I've done what I needed to do. Because if they're not talking about you, you're not trying hard enough.
That's right.
But and that kind of just goes, and like I said, I'm not a gloater, I'm not a bragger, I'm not nothing. I'm just a guy that loves to fish, man. Put my time.
Mm-hmm.
I have a life, and we all have life, and what I choose to do with mine is put all my time on the water and
On the water.
And in this right here, and Bobby, in my eyes, I'm just getting started, dog. That, just being honest with you, I'm just being
I
honest.
can't wait to be along for the ride when you do it. And so, what are you going to do when you win the ice bowl this year or next year?
Yeah, that's it.
Come on now, it's gonna happen.
No,
Nate.
no, I don't know about all that, Bobby. But I've gotten to the point now. Just being honest, I have gotten to the point that, man, I have a passion for helping other people get better. I'm not
Yep.
going to give somebody advice where I'm not comfortable myself,
Right.
but I love to help people that are trying. There's people
Mm-hmm.
that ask me, hey man, where'd you catch that 70 pounder? Where'd you catch this? So I need to catch a big fish. Where do I need to sit? Man, you asking the wrong dude, cuz. You asking the wrong dude. Don't even ask me that. But you can ask me, hey Tyler, what are some things that I might could do a little different to help me? I fished this ramp and here's what I was hitting and this is what I was using, but I didn't have any luck. Would you suggest doing it? Man, I'm here to back you. I want to see you catch the state record, cuz I'm going to help you. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
We have an easy bait and tackle tournament right here in Goldsboro. My man, I met him at Longhorn Steakhouse. He was like, are you Tyler? I said, yeah, man. We shook hands, started talking. He was into catfishing. I gave him a big cat fever rod. He was like, man, this is the best. This is the best rod, man. Thank you so much. My man started fishing and fishing and fishing. He got a boat. He won the tournament. We talked. Tyler, what should I do at this water level? What do you recommend? This kind of bait. In the winter, what should we use? My man took home first place and beat. Oh, and there was a pro and a classic division. My man beat everybody.
Let's go.
Great. That was great, man. I've watched him grow and become a great angler. But when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, man, where have you caught all your big fish or where, man, checking out, dog. But if somebody's out there on the water and are wanting and have a passion and want to learn how to actually do it, I'm not going to tell you where to sit. That's the last thing I
Right.
do, because you need to have these experiences yourself. But I
Yeah.
help you get started and show you the gear that I use and things that I look for that's helped me to get to where I am now. But, I really do love helping people. I do. I want to. I've got long-term plans for that later.
Let's
Uh,
go.
but that's a part of me stepping down from these rivers and going to learn something different so I can help other anglers get better around here. So it's kind of like an evolution thing for me, man, because
Yeah. You got to level up.
I take this so serious, man. I take it so, and I'm up here laughing and we're joking, but I'm mad I ain't caught this fish. And I know he should be here. While I'm talking to everybody on TikTok, Wayne, I caught him. I know he should be here. He should be. I'm
Right.
thankful, dude.
I'll be out in a minute.
But
I'll be out
but
in a
yeah,
minute.
man, that's and I could go on for days and days, Bobby, to be real with you, but it's
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, you got 45 minutes and it's been an hour and 45 minutes. I want to start. I want to come out and say thank you for answering these questions and just doing what you do for the community. And, having met you in person on numerous occasions, it's always a pleasure. And, I look forward to seeing your growth in these different bodies of water and your continued success. Because no matter where you go, we know that you're always going to be somebody to beat, and it's going to be a fun time seeing you out there at some of these tournaments up there at Bugs, and seeing you come in and whoop all our tails. It's going to be a fun time, and when you're up there on the podium, I'll be the first one shaking your hand, because we all know you're good. You're one of the most humble. You're one of the most humble people I've ever met, but you're also one of the most knowledgeable people that I've ever met. You understand how these fish move, how they work, the patterns, and it might, like you said, it might not be the first time or the second time, but when you get accustomed to these bodies of water, it's going to be a dangerous thing for some of these anglers. But
well, well, I
I
don't know
just
about that,
appreciate everything you do.
but you're very welcome, Bobby, and I just know what it's like to be the new guy. And there's so many people coming into this sport and it's growing bigger and better than ever. And I want everybody to love it, man. I don't want people to get discouraged. I want you out on the water catching fish and having a good time, man. And that's that at the end of the day, if take tournaments out of it. Because I fished for years without TikTok and without tournaments dude, I just did it, man. I was like, man, where's he at? Where's this fish hiding? So
Mm-hmm.
everybody that really loves to do it, enjoy it and get more involved into the sport because catfishing, you give it a few more years, you're gonna see, man, this sport is growing on a pace like you, man, it's insane. All
Man.
the anglers and their companies and the brands and the, man, it's exploding, and I want everybody to be a part of it. Don't be scared. Get out there, catch you some fish. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and put your time in. And I promise you, it will reward you. And Bobby, I appreciate you having me on tonight. And David Campbell's very excited for his interview.
I'm super stoked about that. I'm gonna eat me some pizza and I'm gonna shoot him a message and see what we can get going on. I've got family that just flew in from England. Uh-oh, are we on?
He had one, Catherine.
Come on, leave my channel cat alone.
That's it.
That's for me when I come down. Come on now. He's mine. No,
Well,
but I appreciate you coming on, y'all, and I can't wait. I'm gonna be jumping on y'all's live later, checking out, see what y'all got going on, see how many 60s you got in the boat when I finish this pizza. But
crazy.
y'all have an awesome night, man. I'm gonna give you a holler later on.
All right, Bobby. Appreciate you hopping in, buddy. I'll see you later.
See you,
Thank you.
buddy.